Yo guys, this is Reinhardt. How's everybody going? Sorry this hasn't been a long update because I got sick. I had a really nasty case of, I believe, wisdom teeth infection, and I'm scheduled for a doctor's appointment, so I'm gonna have those fuckers taken a serious look at. And I also was on vacation visiting my girlfriend. But anyway, this vlog is gonna be about 5.4, and I believe that evolution in this particular game right now is actually hurting the game, and it's gonna be kind of a little ranty type of vlog where I'm gonna be explaining everything that is wrong in 5.4 and what I would like to see getting fixed. Now, needless to say, you look at my room and it's freaking messy as hell because sorry, I'm still sick. Anyway, let's talk here a little bit about 5.4. And let's start with a nerd rant. So the nerd rant, first of all, I would like to look at the developer who designed a thing called Crowd Chose You. I would seriously like to look at it because, like, from any logical perspective, how would that even seem to be anywhere even remotely close to feasibility to how could you mess up so badly? The worst part about it is that you could be dominating the match completely, and what the enemy team does is they're not focusing to win within the 15 minutes of the match. What they're focusing on is to bring one of your players really low, block his defensive cooldowns, but still bring him low, and turtle for the next 13 minutes of the match. Peel as much as possible, wait for the buff to get, and then win. Now, this is not a win, this is not a good e-sportsmanship, this is just a very mongoloidy type of gameplay, and I absolutely hate it to guts. So that thing needs to be fixed, and they're finally looking into it because that thing was terrible. Anybody faced double Blood Decay buff 2200 MMR in 2s? Just me? Thought it's a very moronic thing to do. Thank God I actually play on Holy Decay, that means that I actually can win. But if I play against like a Monk disc, then most time I would actually lose. And the reason why is because Monk would have so many peels that eventually I'll the healer. I would be winning the match, but the Crowd Chose You kicks in and the Monk's one shots or two shots me or my healer. And then it's like, really? Really? So that was terrible in 5.4. Another thing about the Frost Mages, I like how everybody complained how they're not going to be viable, and then they are the best second DPS class represented right now. And I don't know about their masters, but if you think about it, their mastery is a bunch of dixicles. Like, this is what I read. You spam a bunch of flying blue dicks above your head that explode when your ice lands. When you do a frostbolt, yes, mages have to cast. Oh, never mind, first firebolt affected as well. So just to spread living bomb, get a bunch of procs, and then ice land somebody to death. So that kind of failed as well. And then the feral druid, oh my god, I'm laughing my ass off for their losing their cyclone, and I'm gonna reiterate it because I still think that the ferals should actually keep their instant cyclone. Now let's talk a little bit about our favorite beloved warriors. Warriors are very roller coaster class. They're good, they're bad, they're good. And by good I mean a godly good. So this season they are extremely good. And the funny thing is, I had a lot of warriors, I had a lot of friends who re-rolled into warriors, and here's what they said. They said like, dude, the class is a joke. Literally, it's like, it's so easy to be effective warrior, you don't even have to try to actually play at a decent rating. And I kind of agree with it because I think warriors have a lot of backups. They have tons of backups, they have a double spell reflect is stupid, double interrupt is really silly, and then the core mechanic of Unholy Decay, the only melee who provided unbearable spread pressure, well, guess what, that actually been taken out slightly because damage nerfs were pretty big, and was given it to warrior instead with the Bladestone Bloodbath. Bloodbath? The fuck is that? Who came up with that name? Bloodbath. So obviously I'm not a very happy caster playing right now because I would cast Juke 1, Juke 2nd interrupt, spell reflect, and the worst thing that irritates me is like, how is the Blood Horror spell reflectable? I still don't get it. And the thing is the easiest to spell reflect too. When you pop it, all your warrior has to do is not use any melee strikes and just pop the freaking Spelter Flag. Doesn't even have to go to a distance for that as well. Not distance, I mean sword and board. There's permanently sitting on a distance. But this thing was a little bit ranty. I mean, Dixicles flying around, Mongoloids chose you, the buff, warriors with their bloodbath, Bloodstorm, what? Bloodstorm, shit, Bloodstorm. Now who the anyway, Bloodstorm. So, regardless of that, 5.4 is not a good patch. At least not for the arena, because I haven't been enjoying. The highest I reached was like 2k on my luck, 2.1k on my DK, and besides that, MMR is kind of like sitting in the mediocre range. I was playing like a Gladiators rank 1 at 2.1, 2.2k MMR, playing some Glads at 1900 MMR, which was pretty like surprising to me. Actually, like very rarely happens that, but regardless even of that, the problem I see right now is that the game by itself came to the co-evolution state. I'm thinking like World of Warcraft is getting promoted from World of Warcraft to a World of Star Wars or some shit, because we have like a Iceland's flying mages, like fucking bounty hunters, like shooting somebody. It's literally shooting. You don't see a mages free casting. I played against a multi-glad mage at 2200 MMR on my DK, and the funny thing is like my DK was trained up the ass and we eventually won the match, but mage kinda did more damage than me by 200k, which sometimes actually happens. But I'm looking at the parses of the mage. The guy did 60k damage worth of frostbolts. He casted 3 frostbolts, 60k damage total. The rest were instant cast, everything, like to the point where the actual casters can top the damage by instant casting. Now that is very, very frustrating, but the thing is, I actually do not blame the casters, believe it or not. When it comes to logs, I feel like I'm freaking regurgitating. I feel like I'm puking dots all over the place, and it's not very enjoyable because it's just too easy. There's nothing casted to be done. But on the other hand, there's right now a huge penalty when it comes to casting. And now hear me out, this is where the evolution of the game becomes terrible. Completely garbage. I remember fellow druids were fucking proud as like awesome class. I remember when there were instant cast clones, everybody's like, fuck it, I got an instant cast clone. I remember when actually stealing instant cast clones as a DK was awesome, or mind free or icy touch dispelling them was awesome. I remember when I was playing with a healer and the healer's like, oh, I just spelled the instant cast. I'm like, fuck yeah, I have another 5 seconds of nobody being instant casted. I'd better actually CC my CC the enemy feral within like 6-7 seconds after we got dispelled that shit, so he won't clone somebody else, so my team can actually do more pressure. I remember all of that. But I also remember the time when they actually ferals got revenge spam type of thing, like sort of like a shadow dance on 3-minute cooldown. I understand them, like ferals had a limited amount of interrupts back in Wrath of the Lich King. They had instant cast cycle, limited amount of interrupts. They had no stuns. They got their stun maim is, I believe, in Cataclysm. They had Bear Bash, that was the only their stun, because they had no stuns at all, not different ways of stuns. They didn't have a knockback, they didn't have an Ursal Vortex, they didn't have any other all of those cool tools, but the whole identity of the class was extremely high pressure, possibility of spread pressure for multi-dotting targets, extremely high sustained damage via bleeds, and the biggest benefit of actually bringing Feral into the match were instant cast cyclones. Now the whole core identity of the class has been stripped away to the abomination of where Feral has a shadow dance, Feral has a stuns, but the instant cast cyclones has been taken away. What is this going on? Okay, let me reiterate on my DK. My DK had amazing Chain of Ice. My DK was the least mobile class in the game back in Wrath of the Lich King, but Chain of Ice were 95% snare, and then we'll actually tick down to like whatever it is, like 95, the next second 85, the next second 75. It was like a really strong snare. And then we had a Desecrated Ground that shit all over the place. Granted, we didn't have a stuns, we had only one 3-second stun on our pad, and we also had 2-minute strangulate, so our control wasn't the greatest. We didn't have a double grip, we didn't have IBF removing stunts. I remember when I actually had a pre-IBF to avoid the stunts, and that felt amazing. We didn't have Desecrated Ground getting us out of any CCs, but what we did have is we were least mobile class, but we were the best anti-mobile class in the game, where we would actually let our partners kite the melee by strongly chain advising them. That thing was gone. Our identity was gone, where Strangulate became a go-to for the Asphyxiate. Asphyxiate is really strong, by the way, too. We got more get out of CC ways. We lost Anti-Magic Zone or Lichborn in conjunction. So, like, the identity of the DK, again, been stripped away in terms of, like, we still have a spread pressure, but the thing that we lost, that I kind of hold very, very dear, is anti-mobility. We had a decent amount of pills strictly put because Chain of Ice was a really, really strong snare. And we had Desecrated Ground that when our partners got out of different snares, they were actually able to kite melee. The warriors didn't have a double spell reflect, didn't have a double interrupt, but they were very, very fearsome class, mostly because their damage was really, really good. They had one stun, and they didn't have all this gimmicky stuff that they actually didn't need. So the funny thing is, what's happening in the game is everybody gets all these tools. All those tools, every single expansion. It's like the American way. Bigger, bolder every single time. Every expansion we gotta come up with something different new. Fuck no, we don't. But everybody keeps getting all those tools to the point where it actually starts hurting the game. Once every melee got stuns, every melee got interrupts. Reds didn't have an interrupt before. Surprisingly, Windshear was a 6-second cooldown. Different interrupts were a different cooldown. But every melee got interrupts, every melee got stuns, to the point where all of those tools, everybody got them, and what happens in return is the identities of the class that they were built for initially, that's actually being stripped away. Instant Cyclones, anti-mobility on decay. Rogues had a 70% snare, and no matter how annoying that thing was, excruciatingly annoying, the thing is, Rogues lost it, but they got Subterfuge, which I absolutely hate to the guts. Like, what the fuck is this shit? 3 seconds of unpeelable damage every time they get out of stealth? Or you can pop them out of stealth and it takes 3 seconds for them to actually get out of it. Or Burst of Speed was stupid. I remember the days when the Prat Warriors were actually like the go-to flag carriers because they had a decent mobility, and then they were replaced by Feral Druid because Feral Druids had way too much speed. Then that kind of got nerfed. Now Rogues are flag carrying in RBGs. What the fuck is going on? A Rogue, a Stealthy, Ninja, leather-wearing motherfucking class is a flag carrier in rated battlegrounds. Can you just comprehend that for 1 second and hear me how retarded this thing is? But what happens is everything needs to be stripped away. Now, because melee got all these nice shiny tools, guess what happens to the ranged? Even though range got some tools, yes, awesome. The biggest thing will happen to the range is actually very simple, my friends. They got a lot of instant casts. They do nothing but most of the time instant cast spamming. A few casters have to cast, but most of the casters instant cast, instant cast, instant cast. And the problem with that is that it becomes actually counterproductive. The thing I hate the most is the decays. When I'm fighting the mage and he's training my partner and I'm on the mage and there's nothing I can do to stop damage. I can asphyxiate the mage and force the blink, go me, but other than that I cannot stop any of his damage, because if the mage wants to, he can actually instant cast spam without being afraid of pretty much being interrupted. And that is a not enjoyable gameplay. So I think needs to happen in next expansion for WoW to be viable, because other than that, Wildstar looks fucking amazing. Everybody told me that. People who actually like looked into it, tried it out, they said it's an amazing game, and I can wholeheartedly agree with them. The core structure of them is actually good. We don't need that much tools that we have in World of Warcraft. Everything has to be scaled down. Melee has to lose a lot of their tools. As a DK, I would love to lose Asphyxiate, I would love to lose a Desecrated Ground, but I would like to get in return my old Chain of Ice and my Desecrate. I would like to go back to my original playstyle of a DK class. Anti-mobility was my key. I would love for Rogue to get their 70% snare back, but lose the fucking Starfish, Paralytic Poison, and lose their freaking burst of speed, or put a 15-second cooldown on it. Pharaohs lose their stuns, but get instant cast Cyclones. That's biggest thing. That's what I want to get back to. Back to our roots, back to originality, back to creativity, back to where interrupting a foe meant a lot, meant the whole world. Back to where you can actually watch your positioning, position yourself for the interrupts on the enemy casters or enemy healers and be happy about it. Right now, even if you miss stun, nobody gives a shit about missing stun because there's so many different tools to stop casts. Therefore, instant cast became rampant in the game. So in my opinion, what needs to happen is get rid of those tools, but another biggest thing that kinda needs to happen is all of the DPS cooldowns needs to be brought down by a lot. Demon Soul, Dark Soul. There's no reason why the fucking Dark Soul should give you 30% extra haste. 30%. Okay? That's like twice as much as what our luck should be having haste. Why? Recklessness. 50% critical chance, no drawback. Like, it used to be extremely strong cooldown, but Warriors would get freaking raped because they would take 20% extra damage. So like, Recklessness gives like 3 times as much critical chance as what the Warrior stats are. Like, those cooldowns are extremely powerful and they need to be nerfed. The game should go away from popping the most strongest cooldowns right in the beginning of the game, forcing the enemy team to play defensive and have the upper hand that way, instead of having like much smaller and much weaker big cooldowns, much stronger DPS, much weaker DPS cooldowns, so you won't get globaled. You won't be like, oh well, he popped wings, Stampede, therefore I died, I should have died. No, fuck no. Everything should be coordinated damage wise. There shouldn't be strong DPS cooldowns. Stuns needs to be brought back, and for fuck's sakes, instant cast procs needs to be nerfed. Nerfed in the quantity of them and in the quality of them, meaning damage wise. So that's my 2 cents about what is happening in the game and why the game became not fun. World of Warcraft has record all-time low subscription amount, 4 million. The reason why is because they're idiots and have absolutely no idea what to do. Now I heard that they're buying it from Activision, and I also heard that most of the developers in Activision that were responsible for WoW are freaking FPS players. Now this does not prove that FPS players have a low intelligence, more likely that they should be just sticking with their FPS play games, not MMOs, because it's a whole different ballpark. That is my 2 cents, that is my vlog. Needless to say, I probably will be focusing more on RBGs right now than actually arenas, because arenas are just not fun to me. I'm sorry, maybe I'll play some arenas in the future, we'll see if there's gonna be some good gameplay. But right now I'll be focusing on building up a cool community of gamers, and I'll give you a heads up about that. And I'll be focusing on RBGs. I think I got some of my rust off, so it's time to actually put some content out. Thanks again for sticking to my channel, watching this vlog, and до свидания, my friends.